So you're thinking of moving to Tacoma, Washington. Well, in this video, we are covering both the good and the bad, the ups and the downs of living in Tacoma, Washington. Now, at the top of our list on the good side of what draws people into living in Tacoma, Washington is the stunning natural beauty around Washington. We have Mount Rainier standing tall at 14,411 feet. I know you're not coming to a National Geographic episode over here, but fun little fact for you. And here's another fun fact. There's over 260 miles of walkable trails on Mount Rainier. Now, if you're not much of a walker like myself, but you like to take your kids out into the nature as well, I personally prefer the historic train ride by Mount Rainier. And that's actually over in LB, Washington. We went there recently and it's absolutely a gorgeous little historic town. It's not a city, it's a little town. There's like one main market from what I know in LB, and it's right across the train station. And what's really cool is you can book some tickets, hop on the train. They have like an old ticket booth stand over there. He was explaining how it works. Just a bunch of recycled oil. And the train itself is that historic vintage train. Now, there are parts of the train that have seats. We came a little bit late, but I actually preferred being in the car that we were in. It's all standing, all the people stand over there, but you also get to move around the train, and I feel like you capture a lot more of the scenery and when you're standing and moving around. You get to see Mount Rainier from the train ride. You cross over multiple bridges. They have a little gift shop within the train near the front. You have a little gift shop. You can buy little trains and candy, and they give out the water for free, which was a bonus because it got a little bit hot. You know, I prefer to have something to take off rather than nothing to put on. So we grabbed sweatshirts and everything. We thought it was going to be cold. It was hot over there. So, but it was nice, you know, after we got off the train. And on the train, the conductor walks around and punches your tickets just like they did back then, except they don't kick you off the train because they already know that you paid. So, but nonetheless, it was a fun experience for both myself and the kids. Probably more for myself, but anyways, I like vintage old historic stuff. But once we got off the train, we headed over right across the street to the LB market. We got some ice cream. I got a root beer float. That thing is probably, it was like 1,000 calories, if not more. But it was really nice being there. It's a very historic vibe inside. And it was only about an hour and a half drive from where I live over in the Kent, Renton, Covington area. So, you know, not too bad to have that experience with the kids, drive an hour and a half. Yeah, it was manageable. Now, the second good thing on the list about Tacoma is a cultural haven for many, many people. If you like arts, science, and just want to be involved in the culture scene of Tacoma, the Tacoma Arts and Culture Festival brings in hundreds and hundreds of people per year. They set up vendors, they have different people from different cultures presenting on the stage, you know, different music, right? They have an art section as well over there for you to kind of just, you know, look around. Whatever people do with arts. But if you want to be a part of the Tacoma lifestyle, it's definitely a place that you have to check out. Go be a part of the community, make some friends, and enjoy everything Tacoma has to offer. Now, let's talk about point number 3. When it comes to affordability, Tacoma has Seattle beat. The average price point in Seattle is $877,000, while in Tacoma it's $455,000. Tacoma really splits up in two areas. You have the northern part, and you have everything else, central, south, east. The northern part is the part where you have higher end luxury homes, better schools as well, but higher price points. But the south and central part of Tacoma, and even part of the west side, the median price point over there is $450,000. So it's a lot more affordable than Seattle. You're also very close to all the amenities. If you wanted to drive to the north end, to Point Ruston, to Point Defiance Park, or whatever the case may be, you're only a short, maybe 10-15 minute drive away. But in the central, south, and east Tacoma, right, that's where you have more affordable homes, but you also don't have the best areas, I should say. So, however, I will tell you this, if you're looking to invest for the future, I personally would be buying in South, Central, and East Tacoma because I believe that over the next decade, as people get pushed further south because of affordability, right? What people could afford up north in Bellevue, which is like a really rich area, as prices went up, those people got pushed down further south to Renton. Those people got pushed further south to Auburn and then over to Tacoma. I think as that trend continues, more and more people will be moving over to Tacoma, Washington, and the areas will continue to improve. So as far as the future outlook for Tacoma, I think it's absolutely wonderful. Now, when it comes to the Tacoma job market, it's pretty versatile. So two of the biggest employers are over here are Joint Base Lewis McChord, which is an Army base that supplies over 55,000 jobs for locals here in the Tacoma area. And then you have the multi-care health system connected to multiple hospitals, providing over 7,000 jobs here in the area of Tacoma. Now, a lot of people, what they also do is they move to Tacoma for the affordable homes, and they drive north to work in the Seattle, Bellevue area and beyond. And then, of course, you travel back down south for home. Now, you're going to hit a lot of traffic. You're probably going to have 3 hours of drive time throughout the day. Hour and a half north, hour and a half south if you're driving to Seattle. But nonetheless, at least you're not paying double, if not more than double, for a home. So you pick your poison, right? I personally wouldn't mind driving an hour and a half. That's kind of normal to us now. Driving an hour and a half in traffic is it's a completely normal thing to do. I would choose that over overpaying another $400,000 or $500,000 for the same type of home in the Seattle area. Now, next on our list of the good side is the schools. Tacoma does have some phenomenal schools. The U.S. News and World Report ranks Tacoma School of Arts as one of the top schools here in the area. Then you have the Science and Math Institute, which is actually in Point Defiance Park. And it doesn't look like any fancy school from the outside. And the education that your children get in the area is phenomenal as well. In fact, when it comes to SAMI, how we call it, the Science and Math Institute, the students over there actually head over to Point Defiance Park as part of their projects as well, which in Point Defiance Park, you have the zoo and the aquarium. So it's kind of nice having essentially what's a short field trip, right? You walk a few steps and then you have the zoo, the park, and a lot of students after school, they get to enjoy the park over there. So I think that's one of the benefits of being in that school. Silas High School in North Tacoma also ranks as one of the top schools in the States. Now, besides that, there's plenty of other schools. You have the Ann Wright Private School. That's a very popular private school over here. I'll include some shots for you guys as well. So there's no shortage of good schools in Tacoma. Now, when it comes to the bad side, let's talk about that. In one of the recent videos, I mentioned the average Washingtonian spends 55 hours a year in traffic. Well, in Tacoma, the average Tacoma resident spends 87 hours a year in traffic. Considerably more. And again, the reason for that is because a lot of people who live in Tacoma, they work up north. For instance, for me to drive over to Seattle, it might be a 45-minute to a 50-minute drive. Somebody in Tacoma will drive an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours if there's some heavy road work. So you really got to plan out your day properly to make sure that you're not going to be late for work. Otherwise, using that as an excuse to your boss for road work, it's not going to get you anywhere. So 87 hours a year in traffic is a lot of hours, people. I mean, that's like 2 weeks of full-time work in traffic. That's insane. But you don't really feel it over the course of a year. So anyways, you have your ups and downs with that. And then, of course, we talked about this before. Tacoma is part of Washington, and in Washington you get rain. And guess what? Tacoma has 40 inches of rain a year, while the US average is only 30. So you do get more rain, but you know what? I'm so used to it and I love it and I don't care. So it's not even, I mention it because for some people that move here that are not used to it, it could be a bad thing. But honestly, when you live here, it's a way of life. You tend to just kind of forget about it. You get used to it, just like anything else. Us human beings, we get used to a lot of things. So I personally don't think it's even a bad thing, but to somebody who doesn't know Tacoma, who's thinking of moving over to Washington, I want you to know about it just in case. Now, when it comes to the Tacoma nightlife scene, one of the bad things is that there's not as much nightlife here in Tacoma as there is in the Seattle area. According to Yelp, Tacoma actually has 30% fewer nightlife venues in Tacoma compared to Seattle. And not only do they have fewer nightlife venues, they also close earlier. The Tacoma Comedy Clubs, for example, closes at 11 p.m. Then you have the New Frontier Lounge, which closes at midnight. Compared to a lot of the venues around Seattle, they close around 2 a.m. So you get a few hours more of nightlife if that's your thing, if that's what you like to do. Of course, if it's a work day and you stay up till 2 a.m., I don't know how you wake up. So anyways, moving on. Now for our next point on the bad list is walkability. Tacoma scores a 53 compared to Seattle's 74 out of 100 scale, right, on walkability. Now if you want to be in the most walkable area in Tacoma, I'll tell you where you have to live. You have to live in Proctor, that has 70 businesses, right there in the Proctor districts, off of essentially one or two streets, 70 businesses. You have Metro Market, you have a bunch of restaurants, you have the apartments over there. You can live, work there, and do everything it is you need to do there. Or you can live in Point Ruston at one of the condos or apartments, where also you have groceries, you have the Ruston Waterfront Market, and all of the other things that come with living in Ruston. You have the theater, you have spas, etc. Those are the two areas where I would live if you want to be in a walkable area. Otherwise, Tacoma is not walkable. But even if you do live in those areas, you're still going to need a car to get around to your other things that you need to do. Head over to the hospital, dentist appointment, doctor appointment, or just head outside of Tacoma. You're still going to need a car. But again, if you want to be in the most walkable areas of Tacoma, those are the two areas that you want to be in: Proctor District and Point Ruston. And with that, we close out this video of the good and the bad of living in Tacoma, Washington. If you guys enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing and tap the notification bell to stay up to date and get essential tips for moving to the Seattle area and beyond. I'll see you in the next video.